Kor crept along the dusty corridors of the abandoned base, his clawed feet making barely a sound. He glanced down at the outdated map projection from his wrist computer. He should be getting close now. This outpost, built eons ago by his ancestors to monitor the native inhabitants of this backwater planet, had long ago been abandoned and forgotten. To Kor, it was an explorer's dream, full of relics and secrets just waiting to be uncovered. He turned a corner and stopped short. The hallway ended abruptly, blocked by a pile of rubble and twisted metal. Kor consulted his map again. There must have been a structural failure here centuries ago that destabilized the section. He would have to find another route. As he turned to retrace his steps, Kor's keen ears picked up a faint noise coming from the other side of the collapsed tunnel. He froze, listening intently. It sounded almost like voices. Impossible. Who else could possibly be lurking in this abandoned ruin? Ever so cautiously, he began climbing over the debris pile, reaching for the plasma dagger at his hip. Kor prided himself on having one of the quickest draw times, with a plasma blade out of all his peers. He would be ready if this was a trap. Nearing the top of the rubble heap, he slowed his pace to avoid dislodging any fragments. The voices grew louder, echoing strangely off the ruined walls and sounding distorted. But Kor could make out two distinct speakers, and they were talking in Galactic Standard, the common trade language. His brow furrowed in confusion. Who are these trespassers? As he peeked over the top of the debris pile, Kor's eyes went wide in alarm. There, just on the other side, stood two figures, a human adolescent and an ancient automated repair drone. The old rust bucket of a drone was clearly malfunctioning, waving its appendages erratically and blaring various error messages. But most concerning to Kor was the human. Lean limbs, pinkish skin, shaved head, and not too far off in size and age from himself. He tensed, ready to spring into action. His people's oldest legends warned of the dangerous and savage nature of humans. Suddenly, the drone lunged towards the human with a shrill blaring of alarms. The boy yelped and scrambled back, but the drone pursued. It must be interpreting him as an intruder, Kor realized. Hardly thinking, Kor leapt down the debris pile, rolling as he hit the ground and bounding up between the human and the berserk machine. With lightning reflexes, he drew his plasma blade and slashed through the drone's central column. It collapsed into a smoking heap of parts. Deactivating his blade, Kor turned warily towards the human. The boy was frozen against the far wall, eyes darting back and forth between Kor and the wrecked drone. Kor sniffed the air. Fear pheromones came off the human in waves. Slowly, Kor raised his clawed hands in the universal gesture of peace. No harm, he growled in halting Galactic Standard. The translation device on his collar was old and frequently glitched. He tried again, pointing to the drone wreckage. Not safe here. You should go. The human just stared, mouth agape. Kor huffed in frustration. He stepped forward and grabbed the boy by one lanky arm, intending to steer him back the way he came. But the human let out a strangled yelp and wrenched himself from Kor's grasp. "Get away from me, you monster!" the boy shrieked. He scrambled along the wall, away from Kor, who felt an unwelcome pang in his heart. Monster? He had just saved a soft, squishy creature. "Not monster," he rumbled. "You're welcome for saving." He crossed his arms, tapping one clawed foot impatiently. The human paused in his retreat, blinking rapidly. "Wait, you speak Galactic? And you're not going to eat me." Kor snorted. "Galactic, yes. Eat you, no. You are scrawny." He looked the human up and down critically. A nervous, breathy laugh escaped the boy. "Right, yeah. Mostly skin and bones here. Thanks for the, rescue." He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "I'm Alex. I'm Kor." They regarded each other warily. It was bizarre, Kor thought, being snout to nose with a creature from Legends. Alex's eyes kept darting up to stare at Kor's tusks. Lots of beings found them intimidating. "You should not be here," Kor finally said. "Not safe." Alex shook his head rapidly. I know. I was just doing some exploring and got carried away. I didn't think anyone else knew about these ruins. His eyes lit up. Are you studying them too? What do you know about the technology and architecture? I figured out how to activate the power in some sections, and the network architecture is fascinating. The stream of words left Core confused and even more bemused. Alex showed no more fear, only excitement. Strange creature, like old tech. Core asked. When Alex nodded eagerly, Core made a swift decision. Come, I'll show you something. He led the way down cluttered corridors towards the central archive room he had discovered weeks ago. At first, Alex trailed several paces behind, but soon he drew even with Core, pointing out details on the walls and firing questions about the base's layout and functions. Core answered as best he could, though most of his people's history here had been lost. What do you make of the symbol? I've seen it repeated in several locations, Alex asked, indicating a geometric design etched into the wall. Core studied the intricate interlocking shapes. Important cultural meaning, but unknown now. A deep sadness welled up in him. So much knowledge lost. Sensing his change in mood, Alex placed a tentative hand on Core's broad shoulder. I'm sorry. We'll figure it out together. Don't worry, I love puzzles. The casually friendly gesture surprised Core, but also reassured him. Alex seemed to hold no more fear or distrust towards him. In fact, the lanky human seemed eager for an interspecies friendship. The legends must have been wrong. Either that, or Alex was an exceptionally strange human. They reached the sealed doors to the archive room. Core's mood lifted. He couldn't wait to see Alex's reaction to the wonders inside. Ready for gift, Core said with a toothy grin. Alex's eyes shone with anticipation. Core placed his clawed hand on the lock pad, releasing the door seals with a hiss. As the door slid open, he swept out a welcoming arm. Alex's jaw dropped. They stood on a walkway overlooking a vast chamber filled with row after row of towering data stacks, blinking with inactive power lights. This is incredible, Alex exclaimed, rushing forward to peer over the railing. He turned back to Core, practically vibrating with excitement. Is this data still intact? Think of what we could learn. Oh, please, can we go down and look around? Core chuckled at the human's transparent enthusiasm. Yes, we explore. They descended to the main archive floor. Up close, each data stack towered twice as tall as Core, with access terminals glowing faintly. Alex darted from one unit to the next, running reverent hands over the equipment. If only we could get power restored, these systems might still be operational, he mused. Core nodded. This place was the heart of their knowledge. Pride swelled in his chest. His ancestors had accomplished so much during their time here. Alex paused, staring up at Core. Their knowledge. Wait, so your people were the ones who built all this? Understanding dawned in his eyes. You're one of the planet's original inhabitants? Yes. Core raised his head, shoulders squared. My ancestors lived here before your kind arrived. That's amazing, Alex exclaimed. I never imagined meeting someone connected to this ancient civilization. Will you teach me your language? What can you tell me about your culture? Core blinked, taken aback by this unusual human's openness and scholarly passion. He found himself wanting to indulge Alex's curiosity. Where to begin unraveling the tangled history? A thunderous boom shook the chamber before he could speak. Acrid smoke began pouring from the access tunnels as alarms blared to life. Core barely kept his footing, grabbing Alex's arm to stabilize the stumbling human. He tasted the air, scenting scorched metal and ozone. The old defense systems. They activated. He shouted over the din. Of course, an intrusion by an alien species like Alex would trigger the security protocols. What do we do? Alex yelled back, his eyes wide with alarm but also trust as he looked at Core for guidance. Core's protective instinct surged. Follow me. Keeping a tight grip on Alex's arm, he led the way into the access tunnels. His legs pumped strongly despite his short stride, Alex doing his best to keep up on his spindly limbs. Kor smelled the air as they ran, steering them away from the thick smoke. The tainted scent stirred old memories, echoes of fire and panic associated with the ultimate evacuation of this base. He shook off the ancestral memories. Right now, only the present danger mattered. Skidding around a corner, Kor spotted an emergency vent shaft. He darted up to it, flexing his claws and prying off the grating. Shoving Alex towards the dark opening, he rumbled, "Go now. I'll be right behind." Alex hesitated only a second before clambering into the tight space. Kor glanced back the way they had come. Enough time for the human to get ahead, then he would follow. Suddenly, a blast rocked the corridor as part of the ceiling gave way. Kor dove for cover against the wall as debris rained down. When the dust cleared, his hearts clenched in dismay. The tunnel had collapsed completely, sealing off access to the vent shaft. Alex was safe on the other side, but Kor was trapped. He stared hopelessly at the wall of rubble now separating them. The blaring alarms were louder here. The defense systems must be originating from somewhere nearby. Kor unsheathed his plasma blade, ready to take as many out with him as he could when they arrived. He would not go down quietly. "Kor!" Alex's muffled voice carried through the debris. "Hang on, I'll get you out." "No, save yourself," Kor shouted back. "I will buy you time." He planted his feet defiantly and brandished his blade, growling. A small hole opened up in the cave-in debris. Alex's worried face peeked through. "Oh no, you don't, dumb lizard. We're getting out of this together." Kor wanted to shake the foolishly brave human. "You can't save me. Get out quickly." Alex just grinned. "Watch me." More debris shifted as the hole widened bit by bit. Kor kept anxiously scanning the corridor for approaching enemies, torn between guarding their retreat and awe at this human's stubborn loyalty. With a final heave, Alex broke through the rubble pile. "Come on!" He reached out, and Kor clasped his forearm without hesitation this time. Alex hauled him through the narrow opening with surprising strength. A rumbling down the corridor spurred them into action. Soon, they were both crawling down the vent shaft as explosions rocked the base. Kor could sense they were getting close to the surface when fresher air reached his nostrils. At last, Alex pried loose another vent grate, and they emerged gasping into the purplish daylight. They scrambled away from the ruined base, not stopping until it was a speck in the distance. Finally, Kor collapsed on the dusty ground, chest heaving. Alex sprawled beside him, coughing on the acrid air. As the adrenaline eased, Kor became aware of numerous scrapes and bruises, but all limbs were intact. He turned his head to look at Alex. The human met his gaze, and simultaneously, they broke into relieved laughter. "We did it. We got out," Alex panted. Kor nodded, still chuckling weakly. "Didn't think we would. Good team." He raised a clawed hand, and Alex enthusiastically returned the celebratory fist bump. Their respective cultures' isolationism shattered in that shared trial. Kor knew he had found a true friend. As their breathing slowed, Kor heard the distinct roar of engines approaching. He glanced up sharply, fingers reaching for his plasma blade. A small shuttle bearing human colony markings descended from the smoke-filled sky towards their location. Kor tensed, ready to defend his new friend against these unknown humans. But Alex clasped his shoulder urgently. "It's okay. That shuttle is from my settlement. I recognize it." The shuttle landed nearby, and a gray-bearded older human jumped out, making straight for Alex. "Boy, are you all right?" he asked worriedly, looking Alex up and down. "I'm fine, grandfather," Alex said. He nodded reassuringly to Kor. "Just had a bit of unexpected adventure, that's all." Alex's grandfather frowned as he noticed Kor. "And who is this individual?" His expression was guarded but not openly hostile. Kor kept his posture non-threatening. "This is my new friend, Kor," Alex said brightly. "Today he saved my life. We make a great team." Kor bowed respectfully to the elder. "It is true." Your grandson showed me great courage and loyalty. The grandfather's eyes widened in surprise, but his expression softened a fraction. Is that so? Well then, any dear friend of my Alex is most welcome. He extended his hand hesitantly. Cor carefully grasped it in his own clawed one. Honor for the friendship. Cor rumbled sincerely. Alex shot him a brilliant grin. But too soon, the shuttle engines were powering back up. Come along, Alex. We'd best get home swiftly, his grandfather said, heading back to the shuttle. Alex followed, though he paused at the top of the ramp to look back at Cor. I hope we'll meet again, he called over the engine noise. I still have so many questions for you. Cor chuckled, and I look forward to telling the stories. He touched a fist to his chest in farewell. Until we meet again, friend Alex. Alex mirrored the gesture and waved eagerly as the shuttle door slid shut. Cor watched the little ship rise and zoom away. Already, he missed his new friend, but he knew they would see each other again someday. Turning towards home, Cor shook his head in bemused wonder. Today's events had shattered so many assumptions, both his own and those of the old legends. He and Alex had proven that boundaries could be crossed and real friendship found, even between species who only knew suspicion and fear of each other before. This was a truth he wanted to share with both their peoples. Change was coming. Cor could sense it, and he and Alex would be at the vanguard. Cor smiled, his sharp teeth gleaming in the sunlight. The universe felt brighter and full of promise. This was merely the start of their story.